Did everyone figure it out? You figured out how to get rid of evil?
Thank you. So I just want to say an Arabic. I just want to say an Arabic proverb when I was young, and it says وَبِضُدِّهَا تَتَبَيَّنُ الْأَشْيَاءُ. And that means things becomes clear by observing its opposites. So evil becomes clear when you observe good, and good becomes clear when you observe evil. Without experiencing evil, you will not know what good is. Same thing in day and night. You will not know God's creation and blessings on you if you are always in the day or you are always in the night. And both good and evil are there for a purpose. We have a saying, we have a verse in the Quran that says, God, the controller of all who controls. You give the kingdom whoever you wish, and you take the kingdom from whoever you wish, and you honor whoever you wish, and you humiliate whoever you wish. And then it says, in your hand, all good. So all rise and up and humiliate and honor is all at the end, in God's mind, it's all good. Our limitation makes us love spring and summer and hate winter and cold temperature, and we love this, but without both, this earth would be corrupted. And when we have some global warming, that's great, it's going to be warmer. We have no idea. It's not going to be warmer, we're going to be dead. We need that cold. So I just want people to think like that. Thank you.
I'm saying this facetiously in response to Dee. I grew up in Southern California. I never got tired of the warm weather. Playing tennis every single day, shorts every day. That's, you know. But I agree. I love the winter too.
So I think something that's kind of intuitive for people is that whenever evil is done, we desire to see that evil be punished. And I think we do that, certainly when people do evil things to us, we desire to punish them. And I think when we do evil things, we kind of punish ourselves in different ways. I think we would expect God to do that as well. So how does God fulfill his punishment on evil in your faith?
Very good. Well, first of all, from a Jewish standpoint, we realize we're not the judge. So we're not the ones really meting out all the judgment for what has or has not been done. And there are those, I'm sure you know, in various faiths, and in Judaism we have some too, who would say, well, the Holocaust is because of things that we Jews have done and we are being punished for it. I think it's the natural psychological movement for that. But the notion of punishment can be seen in the Torah a number of different ways. And it's not the literal eye for an eye or tooth for a tooth. The notion frequently from a Jewish standpoint of punishment is to do the opposite, is to make this world the place it should be. Now, the Jewish philosophy is called tikkun olam, means making right the world. So I don't know what they're going to do at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. They'll probably tear the building down and build a memorial and do some other things. But they will, I'm sure they're going to help, and this is what Jews do, they're going to help the community. They're going to help the poor, even though they were the ones who were murdered. So it's not the punishment. The reaction has to be in love. And in Judaism, that's it. who has punishment. We read the Torah and we see what punishment brings. We see what love brings.
In Quran, what I understand is it is about accountability. Accountability is not necessarily punishment. Accountability is through love also. Accountability for your actions, for the consequences of your actions is there. And God, one of his absolute characteristics is being just. So in Quran he says that I will account you for your actions equal to the weight of an atom. If they're good, then you will have the appropriate accountability. If they're bad, then you will be a witness upon your own actions. So this concept of accountability is central to Islamic faith within this world. As far as God's punishment is concerned, that's actually, in my understanding, a very deep scholarly question, which I find myself very inadequate to answer. What I have read in Quran is that God has actually punished nations and people in this world also. However, he has a very clear mechanism for that. This is, again, I am very inadequate in my understanding. However, what I know is that it's his path, it's his way to first send prophets to a nation, then he would make sure that his message is adequately conveyed to people, and then he would separate those who have understood and followed his message and those who have willingly, knowingly defied it. And that's when he would punish. He would not punish the people and the life in Noah's ark. They would still be able to survive the flood. So this is not a punishment, in my understanding, a natural disaster or actions of human beings leading to mass casualties, mass shootings. They're not God's punishment for those people who die. And a lot of good people actually die in those actions. So those are not God's punishments. Holocaust is not, at least in my understanding.
That's a tough question, but I'd say, first of all, my Christian point of view is that God does not exercise justice as revenge. So God does not punish out of revenge. God is love. And God is redemptive love, meaning God's punishment would be like throwing somebody in jail with the goal of rehabilitating. I mean, I think, secondly, that we need to understand in the Christian point of view, since God's self is our ground, is radically with us, radically in every molecule of our body. God is the ground of our being. That is the source of life, all life. Real life, all love, real love, is ultimately springing from God. God is the source. So for us to do things that alienate ourselves from God is to alienate ourselves from our own being in the most real sense. And that separation or that alienation, that rupture in the relationship with God is its own judgment. It's not like God is a vengeful, angry policeman in the sky just waiting to send down fire and send down punishment. That's just nonsense in terms of understanding God through the lens of Jesus. Jesus did get mad at the money changers who were, drove them out of the temple for exploiting the pilgrims and excluding them from worship there and making business out of it and all that sort of stuff. There's some of that in the Jesus story, but basically, his assertiveness, his power is exercised in subtler, more, I can't say all gentle, a lot of it, he's really tough. He stood up to a lot of power and spoke truth to it. But it just doesn't make any sense to visualize God as punishing in a vengeful way. So the redemptive purpose would still be in allowing the judgments, and it'd be intrinsic in the woundedness of the relationship. There's no greater joy than to be in union with God, and our sins disrupt that. And I suspect that God pursues that redemptive project in spite of our sins and these judgments with the hope that someday we'll turn back to this love relationship. And only in the end, if the spirit of evil captures us more and more so that we desire separation from God, do we have to be separated. That's what we usually mean by hell. Being separated from the source of all love and being.
So yesterday, there was a small group of us in the Quran study, and we wound up reading a verse that actually dovetails with what the three of you were saying very nicely. Adib could probably help me a little bit better with what the verse is we're going to see, but it was basically, it says that God chooses to reward you, or God chooses to see you for the best that you do. And think about that for a second. How do we tend to see each other? We tend to mark each other off as the worst, right? Oh, that person did this, or this person symbolizes this, or whatever, and we see in each other the worst and let that define them. But God's perspective is forgiving, and he sees what is best in us. I just think that's really beautiful. You look like you want to add to that.
I just want to say with the verse 1, those who believe and do good deeds, God will cover their mistakes and will reward them the most beautiful deed they have done.
John, I want to point out that I was talking to Alan that, yes, of course, we refuse to read the minutes of last history meetings, and that is why we keep repeating it. But part of it is also that we love to think ourselves as victims, and there is this very popular thought that share an evil experience. Share an evil experience that has happened to you. It is still neutral. Has anybody ever shared an experience with you that they have actually committed evil to others? Everybody likes to share naturally as a knee-jerk reflex an evil that has happened to me, to my group, to my community, to people like me. What I feel very comfortable in is that I very conveniently otherize a group that is different from me. And once I do that, once I once I start seeing that other group as different, the next stage is to dehumanize that other group, to lose the empathy for that other group. And that makes it possible for an everyday normal person to find themselves committing, rationalizing an act of aggression, which you want to call it as evil or whatever. That's the systematic way. I don't know a lot about God, but I can understand this as happening every day to myself. It is that negativity about others and a sense of victimization for myself and for my people. That everybody's out there to get me. And I am completely justified to defend myself. And by that, I will have no holds barred. I will do everything that it takes.
Great comment, Dean. Probably time for one more question.
If you're not going to ask a question, okay, so next week, that Thursday event that you have with your families and all, you all have the potential to combat evil. You know, Great Uncle Harry is going to be there, and he's going to say the reason why, you know, there were those forest fires, there was those damn gay people in California. You all know Uncle Harry. You all have an Uncle Harry who said stuff like that. I mean, I know I'm saying it kind of funny, but it's not funny at all. The issue is, you have to find a way to find that still small voice inside of you to try to set that correctly. I mean, without throwing the giblets at him or something. But you're all going to have that discordant family get-together where there's this one person trying to do the right thing during that.
And I think it's also very appropriate to do that, especially at Thanksgiving time, because what an opportunity to just remind ourselves that we should live into gratitude. I forgot one announcement also. So, and that is that DACU has a Thanksgiving service next Wednesday. Is it 7 o'clock, Bonnie Sue?
7 o'clock.
Yeah, 7 o'clock, yeah, 7 o'clock at Resurrection Church. Yeah.
Who's the speaker?
I don't know, something.
And the speaker's going to be John Eby, and he'll talk about my journey. Every year, DACU has had the night before Thanksgiving. It's a fundraiser for people in need, and poor here in the area. But you should come and listen to John and others too. Thank you for reminding us.
You know, I had raised the question, why do we keep hurting each other? It's interesting, part of the answer to that is that I want to give, I didn't have time to, and I'm going to take advantage of this now, is that we keep hurting each other because we're hurt, and we project it on others. We keep hurting each other for a lot of psychological reasons because of our potential for sin and evil and so forth. But the New Testament, and this is often just left out these days, and I think we need to find some way to talk about spirit more than we do, and particularly in this case, evil spirit as well as God's spirit. I don't think it's so much a trouble with people of faith, but that there are forces that kind of manipulate us more than we realize, that are above us in systemic complexity. And I don't care if you picture the devil like a cartoon or demons like you see in the movies or something. I think that's pretty naive. The New Testament